So Max, it's good to have you here today, and we hope that we can have some time to just unpack the journey that you've taken so far as a student athlete, as a high performance swimmer.
Yeah.
I know it's been quite a long journey so far for you, and so why don't we start from the beginning? How did you get started in swimming? Maybe you can just share that first.
I started swimming when I was 5. My parents just wanted me to learn swimming so that I don't drown in the pool. And when I started to learn how to swim, I was under my first coach, and he actually saw potential in me. Like after a few training, of course, and from there onwards, I started to continue swimming, and I got better.
When you say potential, what happened? What was it that struck the coach as potential, or what struck you as potential?
I think I'm a very fast learner. So when I actually started swimming, I managed to improve a lot in such a short period of time, and the coach was pretty happy with my performance. And from there, I started competitive swimming at a young age. But of course not competitive. It's just like, racing your friends and things like that. Yeah.
And do you recall how you felt when you realized that, hey, I'm quite good at this? Do you recall how old you were, when it struck you that swimming was something you could do very well?
I can't remember how old I was, but during competitions, I always felt like I can win. So that was what struck me, and it made me motivated to do even better so that I can be the best. Yeah.
Okay. And when you started training more often, how often were you training at that young age? Do you recall?
I can't give you an exact number, but it was once a day except weekends, so about 5 times a week. Yeah.
Okay. And what was life like as a young swimmer back then?
Back then it was pretty easy, you just do sports for fun. You enjoy training, the coaches made training fun, something enjoyable for you to do, like play underwater toys or what, just to get them and get it back up the water. So I think it was a pretty enjoyable journey when I was swimming at a young age.
Okay. Then, so throughout primary school, would it be fair to say that it was swimming training was fun?
Yeah.
You looked forward to it.
Yeah, training was fun. I looked forward to it. I made many friends from the club I was in. I was in a Chinese swimming club, Singapore swimming club, and many of my friends from there. Even now, they are like my closer friends. So like I bond with them, and just make lifelong friendships.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was your parents' role when it came to swimming during that phase of life?
When I was younger, my dad was working, so he didn't really like in the middle of the day he wouldn't see us. Like we wouldn't be able to see him, but at every practice he would be there. So when I was training in Chinese swimming club, he would fetch me to training in the morning, and then he'll fetch me to school, and then I'll have my school, come home, and then my mom, who is not working, she would be the chauffeur in a sense. So she'll fetch me to the club to train again, and then my dad will come. We'll go to Chinese swimming club to watch me swim, and then we'll go back together.
And you say your dad would come for every training session in the evening?
Every session he will be there.
Every session
to watch me,
including the morning as well as the evening session.
Yeah. So he will wake up early.
Okay.
To fetch us, and then he will come in the evening to fetch us again.
So now you think back, when you look back at that, how did that strike you as a young child? That your dad was there in the morning session as well as the evening session?
He did that at the very start, so it didn't it was something like normal to me. But now that I think about it, I really appreciate like what he did for me, because when I was younger, like, you know, your dad should always be there for you, and then like he was. But thinking about it now, like I don't see a lot of athletes who have that luxury, or like their parents going to see them swim every single day, chauffeuring them here and there. So I think parents' support is also plays a crucial role in the child's performance, right. And like the way he lives. Like, you know, your parents are always there for you. They're there. They're one of your biggest supporting pillar.
So, what kind of conversations then would you have with your dad or your mom? You know, since your dad was there almost for every session.
So most of our conversations were held in the car. We would talk about training, and then he'll ask how's my day at school, and little things like I used to talk about anything like cars, planes, life in general, whether there's any girl that I'm looking at. So yeah, he's like a best friend to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, you know, looking back now, all those conversations you had with your dad in the car, you know, how does it strike you?
It just makes me think that my dad is, like I said, one of the biggest supporting pillar in my life, and like also a best friend, a mentor to me. So I'm very grateful for his support, his love, and I wouldn't be where I am if not for him.
Yeah. So, primary school period, you were coming up to PSLE.
Yeah.
What were some of the conversations around, you know, the next phase of life? You know, PSLE is a major transition point.
Yeah.
And then after that, trying to choose a secondary school. Do you recall what conversations you had about where to go next, what to do next with either your dad or your mom or anyone significant?
Yeah, me and my parents, my dad and mom, we'll talk about just, they're actually very chill. So they wouldn't push their kids very hard, because like if we want to pursue something, we would do it like we will do it ourselves. So they will encourage us to do well in studies and sports, but they wouldn't like force us to, like, you know, you have to train hard, you have to study hard, you have to stay up and study and get your good grades. They are not like that. So all they did was to encourage me, like, you know, you get a good PSLE score, your swimming is good, you can go to whichever school you want. And when I was primary 5 actually, I was already looking at the Singapore Sports School, because I knew that it was sort of the place for me, because I really wanted to pursue sports and studies. Like at that time, people were thinking if you do sports, you can't study, and I really wanted to prove them wrong. And sports school is just like the best place to be, because I've heard of stories from other schools, like I won't mention, that they're not very sport friendly, even though they're competing at a high elite level. Their school just won't support their sports. Like they won't allow them to go for overseas competitions. They won't allow them to go for even local competitions. They wouldn't provide the kid makeup lessons. For example, if like you go for overseas trips, sports school lecturers, the teachers will give makeup lessons to make sure you're back on track, make sure you understand everything. They're very patient with you. They will go the extra mile to make sure that you can catch up with your work. But other schools, not at all. Not at all.
So going back to your point at the start where you mentioned that you wanted to prove them wrong, because you were saying that people said going to sports school would signify that you can't do well in studies and at a high level. Was that correct? Was that how I
No,
understood you
not,
correctly?
not,
No.
not sports school. I'm talking about sports in general. Like if you're
Like-
at competing at high level, means like you can't study.
I see. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, I misheard you. Okay.
Yeah.
What people had that perception, is it? That
Yeah.
if you're a very, very elite swimmer,
Yeah.
you can't.
Means you got
probably
no
cannot
brain.
study. I see. Who was making those kinds of comments to you?
Like those people who are actually like envy you, are actually like a little bit jealous of you. So like my
Oh,
competitors will tell me like, hey, you can swim, but how your studies not
I
good,
see.
right? Yeah.
Oh, so you were getting comments from your peers, is it?
Yeah.
People your age group.
Yeah, even parents do like talk among themselves, like like, oh, this kid actually cannot study and this and that. Like I've heard rumors, but I can't really remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had that impression that people were muttering
Yeah.
behind your back that Max can swim, but can he study? Is it?
Yeah, not only me, like those elite swimmers in
Okay.
general.
And how did that make you feel when you started getting that impression people were making those comments about you? Do you recall?
Yeah, I recall. Like to be honest, I don't really get people's words. I don't really let people's words get into my head. Like, I mean, okay, you want to say this, you have every right to say it, but I just be me. So
I mean, you must have been, what, 10, 11 by then?
not like about PSLE age.
Okay, so even
yeah.
12 years old
Yeah.
when you had to deal with such comments.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so how did you deal with those comments? Were you dealing with them just by yourself, or were you bouncing it off
No,
parents
even
or
my parents
anyone?
talked about it to me. Like
Okay.
they will mention some people can do sports but cannot study. Then they will just encourage me. You just try to balance your sports and studies, and don't think about what others think about you. You just do you. And from there, I took their advice. I made sure that I will do everything to the best of my ability. What I can do, and it's been going pretty well so far.
Okay. And then I also wanted to stop you there about, you mentioned your parents encouraging you, not forcing you. I think
Yeah.
that was the word you used. So you experience your parents as generally just encouraging.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
It makes me feel very loved. Like, if parents force you, sometimes it means that they want a little bit of pride also. They want like their child to be the best, like so that they can brag to their friends or like, but actually all they want is the best for their child.
Okay.
But the child must actually want it themselves too. Like you can't force them and then they actually do well, but they are not happy. If they're not happy, it's just like a torture.
So they wanted you to
Yeah.
want it,
Yeah.
and you experienced that as encouraging.
Yeah.
Okay. So you felt free to express how you felt about what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Okay. So what did you tell them at primary 6? Dad, Mom, this is what I would like to do. What did you say to them?
At that point in time, I didn't really know what I want to do in my career. But for swimming wise, I told them like, I want to make SEA Games. I want to be a winner. I want to make Asian Games and Olympic Games. And as usual, they were encouraging. They just say, do your best, see what you can do. Don't give up so easily. Academics wise, just do what you can. Try to get good grades. But if you can't, at least you tried. So yeah, just live life trying to do what I could without forcing myself, of course. So that turned out pretty well. Like my sports were doing well, my studies were doing well too.
So then comes the decision point, right? You do your O-level, PSLE that year.
Yeah.
So how did the issue of sports school come up then?
I actually knew about sports school when I was primary 5, like I mentioned just now, because I think they were recruiting in a sense.
Okay.
So they offered me one of their scholarships. So I was very keen. Like I get to do what I love, sports, swimming and studies.
What was your first reaction when you heard, somebody wants to give me a swimming scholarship?
At that point in time, I was quite young, so I didn't know exactly what it was. I just know that, oh, this school wants me. But at the same time, many other schools tried to poach me, like, that I shouldn't say also.
Okay. Oh, so they were also coming in
Yeah, they
and
were
knocking on your door.
Knocking on my door, yes.
Offering you.
Yeah. Because when I was primary 6, I actually am like one of the better swimmers.
Okay.
Like I could get plenty of gold medals, records and stuff. So, like you said, everybody was knocking on my door. My studies weren't too bad.
Okay. So at that point in time, with multiple offers, how did you feel as a 12-year-old with multiple offers? Do you recall?
I felt overwhelmed because many of my friends were from those schools that actually want me. So like I had the thinking, I thought that why don't I just go into that school and join my friends, have some good times. But at the same time, I thought about my career. Like if I go to that school, what will I be like? And if I go to sports school, what will it be like? So I thought hard. I thought once, twice, thrice, and eventually came into a decision that I should pursue my dreams in sports school.
Did you have conversations with your parents, and if you did on this matter, what were the conversations like?
So from what I recall was my parents telling me that think about it hard, about what you really want. Don't just go to the school because your friends are there. They say that if you really want to pursue sports and studies, basically they encouraged me to go to sports school as well, because they also knew that it was a place for me to balance my sports and studies. There were other talks about how people weren't able to balance, and then they just drop one, two, sometimes even both, and then they just become nothing. So that was what I was afraid, and was one of the determining factor that made me join the sports school.
So as a 12-year-old, you're having these conversations with your parents, you have multiple offers, you have to decide. So if you had to give a percentage, a rough percentage, how much of it was Max deciding and how much of it was, your parents influencing the final decision? Just a rough assessment in your mind, based on what you recall of that time, the decision to go to sports school.
I would say 60 from my parents, 60 from me, 40 from my parents.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was still deciding, and then they encouraged me, and then the talks that we had made me more motivated to go to the place that is best for me, because I think they kind of knew the place for me already, just that they won't say it, because like I said, they shouldn't force. Like if you really want to go to that particular school, go ahead, then it's your life. You chose it, then you gotta live it. So if you drop one of your sports, or if you drop your studies or your sports, then it's your, so you made that decision, you gotta live with it.
So your parents made it clear to you that you must decide it, and you will bear the responsibility of the decision. That's very clear in your head.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did that weight feel on your shoulders, on your 12-year-old shoulders at that point in time?
I was pretty young, and like I didn't really have. Like, I was a little bit pressurizing at first, but once I thought about it, I was okay. Like, you go to a new environment, you get to make friends, and also stay in school boarding life. You get to make even more friends. So I was pretty cool with that, and I really looked forward to the sports school life.
So you make that decision, I'm going to sports school, and of course after that you will have to deal with the inevitable comments from maybe close friends, or maybe even not so close friends, about that particular decision.
Yeah.
What was it like? What did you have to deal with?
One of the comments, don't quote me, but like I sort of like it's something like sports school people can't study. Yeah, and I heard other people saying it.
This was before you went in?
No, even after I went in.
Even after you went in, sports school people can't study. Okay, so how did you react?
To me, I wasn't that affected because like I knew I could study, I knew I could do sports, and I'm gonna be better than you. Like, and I did prove them wrong. I was better than them, and as the years go by, sports school also focused a lot on their studies, which was why we have one of the top scorers also in the IB program, and yeah, we've been actually doing pretty damn well in our IB program. Not only that, the O-level students, their scores and the number of people who passed the exam were getting higher, getting better and better. Yeah, I'm just very proud of sports school student athletes and the staff, the support we get from the school.
So in your case, in terms of balancing sports and studies, let's talk about that. In the case of the environment that you have at sports school, how has it been for you when you first went in? What was the transition like? That's a major transition, of course.
When I first went in, it wasn't easy at all. Like, it was my first time being away from home. I had to stay in school. Everything was in school. I ate in school, studied in school, and trained in school. So it was like a whole new life for me. So the transition was not easy. The first few months was tough because of being away from home. But other than that,
what was tough to deal with? When you say being away from home, what was it that you did not have that you had to get used to?
I didn't have air conditioning. I didn't have air conditioning. I didn't have my mom's cooking, my parents to talk to, like in person. Basically, I was just exhausted from the day. You didn't really want to like use your phone to like message your whoever, like your outside friends and stuff like that. So I actually distanced myself a little bit from outside friends, like from clubs and stuff like that. But they're still friends, just that not that close anymore.
Because you don't see them anymore on a daily
I'm
basis.
I'm in the sports school circle at that time.
So you might say you were a little bit homesick?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But after a while, you get used to it. Took me maybe a couple of weeks, maybe a few months. Actually, no, I don't think that long. Couple of weeks. Yeah, because I tend to adapt quite quickly, and I thought of the Singapore Sports School as like a villa, a village, a villa where you do everything there. You eat, you sleep, you play with your friends over there. So everything you do is like it's like a sports school family, basically, like your friends.
So what do you think you did that helped you cope after the first few weeks, with homesickness?
I just went with the flow and thought to myself that this will be my life the next couple of years, and after a while it just got better. Like many people or a couple of people will think that it's not possible. Like I'm really homesick. I miss my family. I miss whatever, but eventually they'll adapt to it and see sports school as something that they want to be in. Like this is the environment for me. Like I don't have to travel here and to and fro just to get to school, just to get from home to training and stuff like that. So it's very convenient.
So what in the environment you felt was very helpful? So number one, you mentioned you don't have to travel anymore.
Yeah.
So that saved you quite a bit of time, right? What else was in the environment at sports school that you found particularly helpful for yourself as you transition as a 12-plus-year-old coming into boarding?
I would say two things. The first is the facilities, and second will be the supporting the support from the staff and the school, the coaches, basically all the staff.
Okay.
Yeah, the facilities, we have amazing facilities. Like there's 2 Olympic-sized pools in the Singapore Sports School, and you don't even get that overseas. Like I remember when I went to Japan for training, they were all short course meters. They were all 25-meter swimming pools, and the pool that I trained at was so horrible. It was like a bucket. And when I came back to the Singapore Sports School, I just felt like I'm so blessed to have this kind of facility. And the second one, like I said just now, was the support from the staff. They're very encouraging as well. The coaches understand that it is not easy to balance your sports and studies. They're encouraging. They make sure that you get enough rest, recovery. They also think about your studies, like you're exhausted from your studies, and they won't do too much to kill you in a sense. They'll do what's necessary and basically drive you towards your goal.
So within that first year when you were in sports school, who did you find yourself talking to most of the time, coping with the transition?
I would say my friends and my family, because friends, you see them every time.
So when you say friends, you're talking about the friends you made
in sports school,
the academy specifically, or just sports
academy
school in general?
And classmates.
Okay. So both classmates as well as the academy.
Yeah, they're all going through the same thing as you. So like, you all get to complain together, do things together, play together. And like once you know that you're not the only one, everybody's going through this. So I think that played a very big role in helping me adapt to the sports school life.
And when you say you talk to your friends, your classmates, your teammates, you are talking about these conversations. Where do they happen? Do they happen over meals or in your break times? When do these conversations happen?
These conversations happen everywhere in sports school. Like, it can be in class, even while the lecturer is talking. It can be during meal times in the dining hall. It can be at training while doing warm-up and stuff, or even in the pool. It can be like, waiting for our parents to come on the Friday evenings.
So it's
everywhere.
a collection of small but meaningful conversations, short but meaningful here and there, little snatches.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. How difficult it was at the beginning, what you had to get used to, just so that people understand what life was like for you, as a 13, 14-year-old balancing sports and studies in the sports school context.
When I first went into sports school, like, it wasn't an easy journey. At first, it was tough because I didn't train twice a day, every single day before, like almost every day. And at school, like secondary school, it's not easy as well. So I struggled, but at the same time I had pillar of support from my friends and family. They're also undergoing, they went through the same thing as me. So I think what helped me balance my sports and studies was the people around me, the staff that were encouraging. Yeah.
So you were doing trainings twice a day for 5 days a week? Almost?
Almost,
right.
Yeah.
So maybe 9 sessions a week?
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had now more than 4 subjects. You suddenly now had 7, right? Or 8?
Secondary one.
How many subjects?
I can't remember.
Can't remember.
Well, I know it's very different from primary school.
So what was a typical day like for you? Maybe just to sketch it out, people might understand it better.
Okay, so I will start training at about 6:30.
Which meant that you had to wake up at?
Which meant that I had to wake up at about 6 to 6:10. That's in sports school. If not for sports school, I would have to wake up at like 5:30 or something. Probably. And then have to get ready, eat your breakfast. Make your own breakfast actually, right? Either your helper, your mom, or your dad. And then you have to travel all the way to sports school, or to anywhere.
So you woke up at 6, 6:10, And
Yeah.
then you could still grab something to eat.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I woke up at 6:10. Wash up, which takes about like 5 minutes. Pack your bags. Sometimes you pack your bag the day before, and you just head to the dining hall, which is like a 2-minute walk away. There will be food catered to you, but obviously we swimmers don't eat that much in the morning before morning practice because you get some stomach issues. So maybe just like a couple of biscuits or like bread, something like that. And then another 1 minute walk and you're at the pool.
Okay.
So it's so convenient. It saved a lot of traveling time. I was just very happy with the environment that I was in.
So training starts at 6:30, and how long would it go for?
It will end at about 8,
Okay.
and then we will go for our second breakfast actually. So we'll go get a shower, take about 15 to 20 minutes, and then grab our breakfast, which is noodles, rice, sometimes bread. There's like a big variety, so you get to choose. But then here comes the interesting part. After breakfast, we have to rush back to boarding, put down our stuff, dry our clothes, dry our towel, quickly take our school bags and rush all the way to assembly. So that was a bit of a struggle for swimmers actually, especially.
And assembly starts at?
At about 8:40 at that time, I think. So it was super rushed. The swimmers were always late. And we always get scolded. So those were the fun times actually, because during that time, you would think like it's very frustrating, but now thinking about it, it's so funny. Like this is where we create memories and stuff with our friends as well. Now that I talk to my batchmates from sports school, we will be laughing together, talking about how our life was like in secondary 1, secondary 2. Yeah.
Okay. So 8:40 assembly, then class will start at?
Class will start at like 8:50 or 9 o'clock if I'm not wrong. And then it will drag all the way to lunchtime. But in between there'll be breaks, like in between lessons, like they will have a mini break area where there were biscuits and stuff like that for the students to eat, because they know that the athletes in sports school are always hungry. We don't get to eat in class, so the breaks really allow us athletes to keep our stomachs full and allow us to. And
were you able to concentrate through class?
Yes, of
generally?
course. I feel that being athletes, we are actually able to focus more in class, because based on experience, when I wake up without doing any exercise, I'll be so fatigued, I'll be so tired.
Okay.
But if you wake up, you do a sport, like me swimming, I take a shower and I just feel refreshed, more refreshed than when I wake up at let's say 9 o'clock, something like that.
So the morning training session actually set you up perfectly mentally for academics.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
But actually towards the end, then you feel the exhaustion.
The fatigue.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the school day.
Yeah.
Like what, 1 something?
I know after lunch, you got that feeling that you're so tired, and then you still have another training session later on.
So between lunch and so what time would lunch be, and what time would the next training be?
Lunch would be 11:30, sometimes 12.
Okay.
So we will have school all the way to about 1:30 or 1:55, I'm not wrong.
Okay.
And then we can rest in boarding
So
for
you
a little while. About 2 hours.
2 hours?
Yes,
Okay.
to rest.
Before your 4 o'clock session.
Yeah. So swimmers, our training will start at 4 o'clock. So we usually take a nap before our training, and that nap is so important.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you always took a nap?
Most of the time, yes,
Okay.
because I took my recovery really seriously. I was one of the few who will take naps and will sleep early at night. So while other people will be playing their phones and stuff like that.
So you did observe that you were one of the few that actually took a nap conscientiously all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Swimmers will usually take a nap.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then training starts at 4.
You took a nap because you told yourself, I have to recover, or you took a nap because you were really wiped out?
Both. Because if I don't take a nap at that 4 o'clock, then I would be way too tired for the night. What's it called? The night assembly.
The self-study.
Self-study time, yes, because we still have a self-study time allocated just for the athletes.
Okay.
Which, what time was that? 8 to 9:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you took a nap. Training starts again at 4, and that will go on till.
They'll go until about 6:30.
Okay.
And then
6:30.
the usual shower and then head to dinner. And then go back to boarding, grab our stuff, and go to the supervised self-study time.
And what time would that be? The self-study time.
8 to 9:30.
8 to 9:30.
Yeah. So there will actually be resource teachers over there that will help you with your work if you got any questions.
Right.
So it's very, very useful. Like when I was in early secondary school days, I had a lot of questions. I would always go to the resource teacher for help, and they're always very supportive. And
So you're saying if you don't take that nap between 2 and 4,
yeah,
the rest of the day will be wiped out.
yeah, I'll just be dead.
Okay. And so self-study time all the way from 8 to 9:30. Then after that, what happens?
And then after that, I will go back to boarding, wash up, and sleep. Yeah, but I know most of my friends, they don't. They will go back, play games, maybe run around the corridor.
What time would you sleep?
I'll try to sleep before 10 when I was in secondary 1 and 2.
So same question. You slept before 10 because you're telling yourself, Max, you better go to sleep at 10, or Max, I am so wiped out, I'm going to sleep now.
For me, I always looked at trying to achieve 8 or more hours of sleep. So that was my goal. Like I already had that in mind. It's not whether I'm tired or not. I must sleep more than 8 hours, like 8 hours or more.
So all this fun that's happening around you, the distraction of it.
Yeah, that was.
How did it affect you?
Yeah, that was actually very distracting because I don't think most people are like that. They will actually play games, make noises. So I'm a very light sleeper, and I had quite a bit of troubles. Like I made a few complaints and stuff like that. So, but after a while, people, they understand what you're going through. Your training is so early in the morning, so they're understanding, and they will keep their volumes low for me to sleep.
What you just sketched out, it's obviously a very long day in some ways, very packed. How did you react to it over time? Did you feel like, oh, it's so boring, or it's so tiring? How am I going to do this again and again and again? Did any of those feelings come up, if at all?
Definitely. I felt tired every day, and I thought to myself, and even my parents' words, my coach's words were, if you want to be the best, you can't do what everybody else is doing. So, and they won't do what you're doing. Basically, you're doing things that are different because obviously you don't want to be like them. You want to be better. So I think that was,
Okay. So you got used to a certain lifestyle, a certain way of living life as a student athlete. I'm sure. What were the first signs that this discipline was benefiting you? If you look back now, what improvements did you see yourself having that became quite clear to you was because of the way you were living this life?
It's basically my performance. I did the same thing every day. Like I said, I was tired. But like I said, if you want to be the best, you can't do what everybody is doing. And I followed that strictly, and I saw my performance improved. Actually, leaps and bounds. So I was very excited. I made goals that are out of my league at that moment. Like I wanted to be at Olympic Games. I wanted to be the winner at Asian Games or SEA Games and things like that.
So what was one major goal that you hit first?
The under 14 national record. It was my first national record, and I was so happy about it because I trained so hard. I had to balance my sports and studies, and I still can break the under 14 national record, and that actually spurred me on to break even more records. So from then onwards, I trained even harder. Yeah.
So you break the record. It gives you encouragement.
Yeah.
Did it at the same time change people's expectations of you, or did it change your own expectations of yourself? And if so, how did it change?
For me, I didn't really have external expectations because I was already kind of improving. So like, they would like expect me to improve, which I did. So I wouldn't say it was an expectation, but rather self-pressure.
Your own
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah.
So what was your expectation after you broke the under 14 record?
My expectation was to continue doing what I'm doing, or even better, so that I can continue improving. Yeah.
And what was the next milestone that you hit after you broke the under 14 record?
The next milestone was can't remember.
What was the next significant moment in your life?
At the time, I was quite quiet.
Okay.
Like, it took a couple of years
Okay.
before I actually broke the national open record for the breaststroke event,
Okay.
which was set by a pretty good swimmer. So
let's talk about that period,
Yeah.
where it's pretty quiet. Okay?
yeah,
I mean, when you say pretty quiet, 2 words, but those 2 words are describing a pretty long period
Yeah.
of time, right?
quite long. Yes.
A very long period of time, and obviously when you go through a quiet period, another word for it is maybe plateau, not improving. What were your thoughts during that quiet period of your life?
The quiet period was nothing that much actually.
Okay,
but
that's fine.
it's not. I didn't do any big achievements, as in like SEA Games or Asian Games, because I was a bit too young at that moment.
Yeah.
I was actually trying for the 2017 SEA Games. Yeah, but I just missed.
Okay.
But at that quiet point in time, I was already competing at overseas competitions like those youth one, like Asian School Games, ASEAN Youth Games, international school games. So I wouldn't say I said quiet because like I didn't have any wow.
Sure.
It's just I was still improving.
Right.
It's just that.
So what kept you going? I guess that's the question I also have. When you go through a fairly quiet period, what keeps you doing the same thing over and over again?
What kept me going? Just the encouragement from coaches, pressure from myself, my friends. Basically, they all want me to do well. I want myself to do well as well.
Okay.
So that's what kept me going. Like, you always have a goal in mind. I think that's very important, because if you have no end goal, you have no long-term, short-term goals.
So what was your goal that you had during that quiet period that you were shooting for?
At that point, my goals were just to always hit my personal best, because to me, every step you take counts. Like, even if it's a small step or a big step, it will lead you closer to your end goal, and that really got me going.
So during the quiet period, you were hitting personal bests?
Yeah, like small ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but still a personal best.
Yeah. But there was one time where I hit a plateau. Like,
Okay.
like I was stagnant for a little while.
What is little while?
Maybe a couple of months, 6 months to about a year.
Okay,
that
can feel quite long.
Yeah. And I actually felt like, oh, is this like the best I can do already?
Okay.
Is it like the end of my career?
Okay.
Is this the fastest I can go?
So you were thinking those thoughts in your head?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Did you say it to anybody, or you just kept them to yourself?
I would talk to my parents and friends about it. Like, say, oh, it's very tough.
Yeah.
Training, school every day, it's very dreadful.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as usual, they encouraged me. My parents say that I know it's not easy, but you're already at this level. Don't give up. just do to the best of your ability and see where it goes. And then if it's really your best, then you can look for something else like to do. Yeah. So
how did you respond to the comments from your parents and
I'll just tell
friends?
them, I'll just reply with okay, because at the time I was quite sad that I didn't improve, because all this while I've been improving, and then suddenly I trained so hard and then I didn't improve, so I was sad. I'll just say, okay, I'll do my best. At that time I was a little bit older, because when you're younger, you just do the best you can, then you improve.
Yes.
And then when you're older, there's pressure. There are other factors that will affect, like recovery will get more and more important. So at that age, I wasn't really sure how to do proper recovery, like stretches, mental health, my diet. So
what was the first sign that you were coming to the end of your plateau period?
the first sign was basically me not improving.
No, at the end, how do you spent you said there was about 6 months to a year where you were plateauing, right?
Yeah.
What was the first indication you were coming out of that flat zone? What happened?
At that point of the plateau, I felt like I was putting too much pressure on myself, and like I was letting pressure get into me.
Okay.
I felt that basically I was, how to say, like,
You were telling yourself, take a break, chill.
yeah,
Ease off.
I had that in mind as well, but I didn't, because when you take a break that is too long, like your fitness drops and stuff like that. But there were times where I had to take short breaks, like a few days, maybe 1 week, to like set my mind straight again and get back on track. And I believe that is very important, because not everybody can. I believe that everybody will go through a time like that where they are just like boom, you're in a ditch. So like it's either you get back up or you just lie there. So
But what you're saying is that you told yourself, you took pressure off yourself, is it? You told yourself, don't get too hung up over the plateau.
So basically my competition, like the competition that made me shot out of my plateau was a competition that I took it, I would say, not too seriously.
I see. So you reframed your expectations, eh?
Yeah, I went into the meet thinking I'll just do my best, no expectations.
Okay.
I just do what I like. I eat what I like.
I see.
Think what I want, just not negatively, of course.
Okay.
So I just went into the competition with a fun mindset.
Okay.
I'm just there to meet friends, have fun. It was in Adelaide, 2017, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went there and I did my personal best by quite a big margin.
For the first time in 12 months, 1 year.
There about 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so from there onwards.
What was your reaction?
I was so happy. Like, I thought to myself, wow, if I actually go to every meet like that, it would be so amazing. Like, zero expectations, and yet you still can win. You still can top the competition and do personal best. And my ranking was one of the best in Singapore with that time. So that actually spurred me on to catch up with my competitors at that point in time.
And what year was that?
2017. December. November or December?
End of the
year, yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to catch up with my competitors, and my goal was to be the best and break the national record.
So suddenly, not suddenly, you decided you will reframe your expectations of how you go into a meet.
Yeah.
You change your expectations of yourself. You changed up your attitude.
Yeah.
Even your diet. Eat what you like. Have fun.
Yeah.
And then you hit a PB.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long while.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that if you're feeling too controlled, you will be controlled. Like, this is like your limit. But if you're not controlled, you're free, and then you can go anywhere you like.
So that's how you felt.
That's how I felt.
You were feeling
I was feeling
like
pressured,
restricted, controlled.
Yeah, basically restricted.
Okay. And after that PB in Adelaide at the end of 2017, what happened after that? What was the next major milestone that you hit?
The next major milestone was to make. I broke the national record.
Okay, tell us about that.
I can't remember which year it was.
Tell us the lead up to that. Number one, was it something that was clearly a goal? Max, will try to break the national record, or was it framed in another way? How did you go about that? What happened?
So at the planning stage, there's a long-term and then there's a short-term goal. So that's like my end goal is to be the fastest in Singapore. And my short-term goal was to always break my personal best. That is 100%, it's a must for me. If I don't, then there are other chances, because at that point in time I had many opportunities, overseas meets, local meets. So my next milestone was making the Youth Olympic Games, which was in 2018. Yeah. I basically went into that meet with similar mindset, just there to, of course, do my best, but at the same time, you make friends, because I love making friends with overseas swimmers or athletes in general. So there to make friends, experience different culture, bond together with your local teammates as well. So on my 200-meter breaststroke event, I did what I could, and I made the finals. So I was very, very happy, because Youth Olympic Games, I'm a finalist.
Yeah.
I think I was second last, if I'm not wrong. So and that was a personal best by quite a lot as well, like 1 second plus, which was a lot. But then I think I let a bit loose in the finals, and then I did 1 second best time plus one, but it was fine.
Okay.
I guess.
So you did your PB in the
heats, and then in the finals, I screwed up a little bit. But like I said, I was there to have fun.
Right.
Like I already made the finals.
That was objective achieved, or beyond your objective even.
Yeah, so I was already very happy.
Okay.
And the youth meets are actually very interesting, because the pressure is not as much.
Talking about the Youth Olympic Games, this is a privilege not everyone gets to have, going to the Youth Olympic Games. And partly because you have to be of a certain age to go to a Youth Olympic Games. Not everyone can go.
Yeah.
Now, even looking back 4 years later, to be a Youth Olympian, what does it mean to you as an athlete?
Making the Youth Olympic Games make me feel like, it's a good thing, but it is not the Olympics. It's youth. It's like the Olympics for 18 and under. And I thought to myself, it's good, but it's not the best. So my next end goal will be to make the actual Olympic Games. But what it meant to me was, if I can get there, why can't I get to the real one?
Okay.
So that motivated me to, continue training, doing sports, keeping up with my studies and things like that.
Okay. So going to the Youth Olympics give you a taste for the Summer Olympics.
So I actually
Olympics.
I really wanted to make the 2020 Olympics, but at the same time, once you reach a certain level, it's way harder to improve. Just 0.01 second is already so difficult, or 0.1. So I was still making improvements. It just wasn't like leaps and bounds. And I understood that being at that level, it won't be easy for everybody. But like I said, small steps, no matter how small. As long as it's an improvement, I'll take it. Because it will lead me closer and closer to my goal. Yeah.
Small steps, no matter how small,
Yeah.
is an improvement. Okay.
An improvement is an improvement. So if you are aiming higher, but then you don't make it, it's perfectly fine because it is a step which is closer to your end goal. Yeah.
So Max, one of the major decisions you had to make when you were younger was what happens after your O-level year, right?
Yeah.
Or in your case, do you take the through train to poly? Can you think back a little bit and share the decision making that you had to go through around this topic?
Mine was actually quite complicated because I was in the express pathway, but in secondary 4, I actually went to the IB route because the school offered me the extended IB, which I could do in 3 years instead of 2, 3 to 4 years instead of 2, maximum 4 actually. So I considered that and I actually chose that because I would be able to swim for longer period of time and it won't be so stressful because it's basically spread out, like the IB program is spread out, so I get to focus more on my sports. How I got in, my results were not too bad, so I managed to get in. But when I was in secondary 4 doing the IB program, which was completely new to me, there were projects like the IAs, math IAs, extended essays, TOKs, and I wasn't used to it, even though I actually got decent grades for it. Like I remember my extended essay, I think I got an A or something, and then my IA was also...
IA stands for?
I can't internal assessment.
Okay.
Yeah. I also did pretty well.
Okay.
But I thought to myself, it is very stressful being in the IB program.
So the stress came from what specifically? The more hours needed?
Yeah.
Because you obviously could cope with the material.
Yeah.
Right? You got an A.
No, but that's for the only certain parts. For A maths, I didn't have any basic knowledge of it at all, so I struggled a lot with that. And it was one of the subjects that I had to do.
Okay.
My sciences were alright. I took physics and chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah. And I actually topped the physics class once before.
Okay.
So, but like I said, I thought to myself, it's very tough because school doesn't end at 1:55 or 2. It ends just before training. So there's no rest in between.
Just before training?
Yeah, like sometimes even later.
3:30?
Yeah, 3:45, 3:50.
Okay.
So I had to rush to boarding, put down my stuff and rush.
And what time would school start at that time?
The usual, 9.
9? It will run all the way to 3:30?
Yeah, run all the way to 3:30.
Okay.
So it was so stressful.
So your beloved 2-hour break for a nap out the window.
Out the window. So that's where I thought, if this continues, I won't be able to pursue both.
So without that nap, that recovery period, what was the rest of the day like then, as you experienced it at that time?
It's dreadful. The classes, everybody is so competitive. They want to do well in their studies. You just feel like you're lacking behind because swimming is not an easy sport. It's one of the hardest, time-consuming sports. So, my friends were able to study at night. They are able to study while basically you're doing your trainings. So they have a head start.
Sure.
And then you're always lacking behind. So that was where I felt like I was,
And this feeling of being behind was a daily reminder. You had this feeling every day as you went to class.
Yeah. I was lacking more and more and more.
So there's a cumulative feeling.
Yeah, because it's so fast-paced in Singapore in general. So at the end of Sec 4, I thought, because there were different pathways for me as well, like the through train or to take the O-levels, to go to external school.
Yeah.
I can't remember what school, but overseas or wherever. But I thought I really want to pursue my sport, and this is not how it should be.
Okay.
So,
and as you were having all these questions, were you again having these questions only with yourself or with somebody else? Did you
no,
speak
with
anyone
the
else?
staff in sports school as well as my parents, my friends. The staff, they know that it's not easy. My parents, as usual, they were encouraging. Like they say, if this is not what you want, then go ahead. You can change to the children program or the O-level program. My friends, they are also in the same boat. Like some of them are express or NA, and then they see me doing the IB program. They say they understand it's very stressful, and that they will support my decision.
Correct.
So eventually I chose the children program, the diploma in sports and leisure management, so that I was able to balance my sports and studies well.
How hard was it to make that decision?
It wasn't tough because I knew that IB will be harder. So I actually had to sit for an exam for the poly program because the IB and the poly route has different expectations. I know the exam papers are different, so I just took the exam paper, and they told me if I get this score, then I get to go in. So I got in from IB, and I had to do the secondary, the O-level paper or whichever paper they took to get into poly. So I just aced it, and then I went in the poly. So yeah, I was pretty happy to start another journey in a sense. Yeah.
Okay. So you finished your O-level year. In fact, you didn't even.
I didn't have to take O-levels.
But you finished your Sec 4 year.
Yeah.
Having struggled through that, the IB curriculum.
Yeah.
But you took that paper at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And you aced it to get into the poly program.
Yeah. Because the poly program is collaborated with sports school. So there's Ngee and there's Republic Poly. Ngee is like almost pure business, but Republic Poly is like sports business, sports and business. So I took that route because I wasn't 100% sure that I want to be doing business my whole life.
Okay.
So
what was the biggest change once you entered the DSLM, the RP program?
No, the biggest change is so huge.
Okay.
The program really is sport friendly. When I went in, school starts at 12, ends at like 4. So it's so different from secondary school days. It's like a whole new life. You get more rest. You get to train harder because you got more energy. The schoolwork is not so taxing. Yeah, 12 to 4 is a very good, and it's not, we get work done, like almost a whole day's worth of work. It's not like 12 to 4, it's only 4 hours of work. We actually get the same amount of work done as, or even more, than the actual Republic Poly students. Like they start school at like 9, they end at 4 to 4:30. Ours is only 4 hours, so the lecturer has to chop. You have to get a worksheet done, you have to study, you have to read up and everything. So ours is all squeezed into that 4 hours. And given that 4 hours, our results are actually, the RP SSP students, our results are actually like among the top in the whole of RP cohort.
Okay.
So doesn't mean you work for fewer hours means you won't be able to do it. Yeah.
So the quality that
is the quality,
you all
yes,
have put
100%.
in.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you have a new study schedule.
Yeah.
How did that, in your estimation, how did that affect your training? You already mentioned that you trained harder. So what was the knock-on effect of being in the poly program for you, as you have observed?
One of the best thing about being in the RP SSP program is that they also provide makeup lessons. So the lecturers, if you miss lessons from, let's say, this module to go for this competition, or training camps actually, so they will actually provide makeup lessons once you come back. Like if you miss, at that time I was missing about 2 to 3 lessons, and when I came back, they made sure that I understood everything before moving on to the next lesson. So I thought that was a very good thing for them to do. And the schedule of RP was very different as well. It was Monday, Tuesday, one module, Wednesday, Thursday, another module. So I remember going for training camps that lasted for about 2 to 3 weeks. So 2 to 3 weeks, you would say that I miss, because I have about 4 lessons per week, so I'll miss 12 lessons in 3 weeks, which is basically one whole module, about 13 lessons. So the way that this was created is basically 3 weeks I miss 6 lessons and 6 lessons. So it's basically half of everything. Yeah. But of course I didn't take 6 lessons off. Like I took maximum 4 for 3 of module 1 and 4 of module 2. That was the maximum I took.
So how do they accommodate your not being around for 3 weeks?
Firstly, we have to apply for leave of absence, however long the training stint was. At that time, I went to Australia, Brisbane, for training. The first time I went for about 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks. And then you'll get approved by sports school, not Republic Poly. So if they say, okay, you can do this, you can go for your training stint, then I'll go for the training stint, and then I'll miss the lessons. One lesson is actually a lot, because as I said, the 12 hours is all packed into one. So when I'm there, I can actually still access the notes.
Okay.
Because it's all
it's online.
Yeah, it's online. So basically, I can read their notes and stuff. I just can't be in class physically. So yeah, and then when I remember missing a few exams as well. It's called end of semester exams.
Right.
And then when I come back, I have to take makeup exams, which are actually harder than the end of semester exams.
So you can read the notes that you missed the lectures for.
Yeah.
But there's no makeup lesson for you when you come back.
No makeup.
You have just to figure it out on your own.
No, there are makeup lessons.
Oh, there are makeup lessons.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So on top of being able to read the notes, when I come back, if I have any questions, if I have anything to do, the lecturers will make sure that, I get what's needed to be back on track.
Okay. And if you miss the end of term exam,
then it'll just be a whole different exam. Which is 99% of the times harder, according to the lecturers. They'll tell you that before you go for your training stint, before you take the leave of absence, they'll tell you that you have to be prepared for the makeup exam, because it's usually harder than the exam. So I'll be like, okay, because I have to go for the training stint to better my sports. This is where the balance come in. You have to go for this give and take. If I do sports, then my studies will be lacking behind a little bit, and then I have to catch up later on. So after I come back, they'll do makeup lessons, makeup exams, and surprisingly, my makeup exams were pretty good. Yeah, I think I did about 3 or 4 makeup exams. Yeah.
So you are now in the poly program. You have a timetable that supports harder training. If you have to go for overseas training camp, you can get a leave of absence, but that means you do makeup exams, or you get makeup lessons. And sometimes the exams are harder, but you roll with it. You cope quite well with it, you felt. So turning our attention now to the impact that had on your performance. I think this was the period of time too that SEA Games was coming up, right? The 2019 SEA Games was on your radar. Maybe you can share with us, what were you shooting for, and what were the circumstances around the lead up to the SEA Games?
So the lead up to the SEA Games qualifiers, As usual, class was from 12 to 4, normal school, normal trainings, as usual, hard, of course. Before my SEA Games qualifiers, I told my lecturers about it, like I really want to make SEA Games and stuff like that. So they were encouraging. They told me that if you need anything, you can just like contact them. If you need anything, you can just give them a call, things like that. Parents, as usual, were encouraging. They say, just do your best. If you make SEA Games, it'll be a big thing for you. But if you don't, it's fine. As long as you did your best. So that's what they always say. As long as you do your best. And I really did what I could. And I made the SEA Games. So I was very, very excited.
And this was in 2019 itself?
Yeah.
March 2019, around that period? When did you qualify for the SEA Games?
I qualified, I think, in March.
Okay.
Or latest in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So I qualified, and
what were the expectations around you at that point in time? Do you recall? Max, confirm will qualify, or
no,
not sure?
it was a fight. Like,
Okay.
I had to fight for a spot at the SEA Games because the previous SEA Games I missed by one spot and by like milliseconds. So I was very demoralized in a way, but also very motivated to make sure that that doesn't happen again. So during the training days, I trained as though I was racing that person. That I was beating him every single time. So that on that day, on race day, it basically repeats what I've been rehearsing. I've been winning. It's like I already made SEA Games. So on that day itself, it was like self-pressure. I want to do it because I want to be part of the SEA Games team. But at the same time, there were external pressures from the school, friends, and then I had spec scholarship as well at that time. So
how did that pressure manifest itself? Was it through people's comments? Was it through...
They don't physically show the pressure, like, you have to do this time, you have to do this time. But I knew at the back of my head that they were looking for something. So that was a pressure for me.
So it was not expressed
It
out
was
loud?
not really expressed. But the coach kind of hinted to me, like, if you must do well and things like that. And at first, because that was one of the biggest meets and pressure I had, so it was something new to me, I kind of let it affect me a little bit. But that was where NYSI came in. There were psychologists, nutritionists, strength and conditioning, things like that, to like calm me down. As usual, do your best.
How did you calm yourself down? How did you cope with the pressure, the expectations?
With the help of NYSI, like the psychologist, she created like goals for me to achieve. She made ways for me to improve my mental health. Like, let's say, if there's too much pressure, try to shut them out, and then focus on what you're doing. Because if you let it affect you, it will basically affect your performance. So,
what was the pressure that was the most difficult to deal with in that lead up to qualifying?
the pressure from the scholarship. Because if I don't do well, in a sense, like they can just, let's say, like just take away the scholarship and things like that. And also pressure from myself.
Okay.
Because like I said, the previous SEA Games I didn't make it, so I must make it this time.
Right.
And thankfully I did. Yeah.
Okay. You recall the feeling when you qualified?
Yes, of course. It was.
What was the feeling?
It's like I made it. I made my short to mid-term goal. Because my long-term goal is still to qualify for other major games. So the feeling was good. I felt like I accomplished what I was always looking forward to. What I didn't get in 2017. So that not only gave me motivation to continue swimming, it also gave me motivation to win the games. Because when I qualified for the games, it was actually a podium finish in the previous SEA Games.
Ah, okay.
So that spurred me on to try to be a better individual in the event, and to aim for the goal, basically.
So suddenly you felt, after qualifying, you know that you have a podium chance.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did that set up the whole period before you went to the SEA Games?
It actually was very pressurizing because, like, newspaper came out, like, my time was a gold medal in the previous SEA Games, and then people were telling me, it's time for you to get a gold medal.
Okay.
My parents also say that, your time as a gold medal is very good, so you can do it and things like that. And
So the pressure jacked up.
yeah, it jacked up a lot because even me myself also, I want to get a gold medal, but I know that it won't be easy. So the work that I put in was actually already very hard, and I knew that if I want to be better, I had to put in more work, which was what pressured me also, because putting in work is never easy.
So how did you deal with the jacked up expectations in that period leading up to the SEA Games?
It was also NYSI's help, because as the psychologists will make sure that my mental health is always healthy and that I don't fall apart and things like that. So every time, if I ever do fall apart, there will always be somebody to help me get back on track, which was the psychologist at that point, because there were times where I felt like there's too much pressure. What if I don't do well? There's always the what if. So
when the what ifs were too hard to take, what did you end up doing or not doing?
Firstly, I would speak to my coach about it, because I see him every session, so I'll tell him I have to do this, get a goal, do my personal best. I feel very scared, nervous, afraid that I don't do well. And then he will get the psychologist from NYSI to give me a talk, improve my mental health and things like that. At that point in time, I felt like the things they say, they were very encouraging. At the same time, it makes me feel like wanting to be a better individual with a good mental health. Yeah. So I took it seriously. I made sure that I blocked off all the distractions like pressure, so that I can focus on my goal. Yeah.
What did you do differently? You said you blocked off the pressure. Was it something just internal, or was it also external?
It's in the mind.
Okay.
Because external wise, you can train for it, but mental, you can't physically train for it.
Okay.
So I had to train my thoughts, and basically what was different is the mindset. Like going there with a purpose, but not too much pressure.
Okay.
You do the best to your ability, and that worked out well also.
Okay. So you get supported through this period, and then you get on the plane, you head to Philippines.
Yeah.
Right. Tell us this last part in Philippines. What happened? How it turned out?
So in Philippines, the atmosphere was different. It was good because there was a huge crowd. People from all over Southeast Asia were there. My friends that I met from many years ago were there. I managed to see them. The experience was good in that way, but
Because it was also your first SEA Games, right?
yeah, it was my first SEA Games also, and people who I didn't meet at 2017, they were all there, and they all encouraged me because it's my first SEA Games.
Yep.
And they basically welcomed me to the first
You're talking about your Singaporean teammates
as well as teammates from all over Southeast Asia, like Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. Yeah, they were all encouraging and welcoming.
Okay. Did the expectation levels go up stay the same or even
Actually,
go down?
it did go up
They went
because
Okay.
like meeting them reminds me of like, you know, because some of them were my competitors.
Yep.
And then it reminded me of like, you know, I have to beat you. I have to win you. And then competition wise,
Remind us, how old were you then when you got to the SEA Games?
since 2019, I was 18 years old.
Okay.
Yeah. So just past the youth
Yeah.
stage.
So you're 18 plus, you get there, so you're surrounded by
Even bigger
Teammates,
people, older.
older people, friendly, no doubt, they welcome you,
Yeah.
but the expectations
Yeah.
even went up even higher.
Yeah.
So how did you cope?
I told myself that it is not easy to cope with pressure and stuff like that. So what I did was to have like, you know, tweak my mindset. Like, you know, I'm here to get a goal. I'm here to do my best time. I'm here to basically have a purpose. So what made like the change mindset was I'm here to do the best that I can. Not if I get a goal, I get it. If I
Okay.
don't, as long as I did my best.
Right. So you
that
reframe
was-
it as doing your best.
Yeah. Not
Okay.
I shut out everything else.
Okay.
So the day that was my important event, the 200-meter breaststroke, that was what I did. I went out pretty hard in the heats. I got, I think, first or second place in the heats, so that I got a better lane
Right.
in the finals. And then finals, I did.
What were you doing between the heats and the finals? That period of time.
That period of time, I just made sure that I rest properly, recover well, because that's a very crucial time.
It's the same day, right? Heats in the morning,
Yeah.
finals
Yeah.
in the evening.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's a very crucial point in time where I had to make sure I get my recovery done. Shut out other distractions. Like at that point in time, I couldn't. I had to shut out friends. I had to shut out social media and things like that to focus on my finals, because I don't want to let pressure get to me. Like if I open my phone, get a gold medal, all the best and things like that. Like I appreciate that, but you know, sometimes you have to like put them aside and then get back to them later on. So that was what I did.
So for that half a day, you had to make sure you were in a complete
Yeah.
bubble of your own.
Bubble on my own, totally. Like I'm the only person inside, or me and my thoughts. So
Okay.
make sure I did my recovery, and the time passed pretty fast. Like the snap of a finger is finals.
So this is the day of the final. You qualify during the heats, and your final. The heats are in the morning, and the final is in the evening. You have this time where you are by yourself in your own thoughts. You have created, you know, a mental bubble. You switched off all your devices.
Yeah.
What was going through your mind?
What was going through my mind, I really wanted to win that event and potentially break the SEA Games record, which was not too far away. That was all on my mind actually. I wanted to win. I wanted to break the record. I wanted to win. I wanted to break the record. So nothing else. Because if I let any distractions get to me, I know that it will affect me emotionally and eventually physically. So snap of a finger, finals.
Right.
It's time for finals. So I did my usual routine, my warm up, my stretching and things like that, and just got to the blocks ready. What I had in mind was do the best that I can, but at the same time, I had a very positive mindset, which was I'm going to get the goal. I'm going to do it. So
What were you aware of as you were on the pool deck, as you got on the blocks? What were you What do you remember now?
I remember that I was positive, like I'm going to win. And even during the race, in my mind, it was I am going to win. That was all that matters. I'm going to win. Pull harder, kick harder. Don't die. But I actually went out the fastest ever for my first 100 meters. And I was ahead of everybody. Even to the third lap, I was ahead. But the final lap was what killed me.
Okay.
So I was...
Take it from the final lap. You were ahead at the start of the final lap.
Yeah, I was ahead.
So remaining 50 meters.
Remaining 50 meters, I think I went out too hard because I was too overconfident. Because I saw the corner of my eye, I was in front of everybody.
Okay.
So I was confident, I was feeling good. Even to the third 50, I was feeling not bad. But after the turn, it was so painful.
Okay.
I actually fatigued really fast. And even in my mind, I thought, I'm still going to win. I'm going to win. Even though I'm tired, it's only the last lap. So I pull harder, kick harder, but it just didn't work out. Like, sometimes you're pulling your hardest, you're swimming your hardest, but then you're not moving.
Right.
So I slowed down quite a lot and my competitors caught up. But it wasn't, from first I became third, which was still a podium finish and a personal best in fact. So I was very, very
what went through your
happy
mind
about it. What went through my mind? When I saw the scoreboard, I see my name not first, not second, but third. I was happy, but at the same time disappointed because all this while I've been wanting to get a gold medal, the record and stuff. Then in the end, 2 of them got the record. I didn't get anything. Yeah, but it was a personal best, and I always tell myself, personal best is a step closer to your goal. So I took it well. Even though I didn't win, it's still a bronze medal. Everybody was happy. Yeah.
What was the reaction from your closest friends and family?
They were actually all in Singapore, so all I had was messages from my phone and stuff like that. And I felt like a superstar because everybody was in my DMs, everybody was in my WhatsApp, wishing me congratulations. People were cheering on the pool deck. I mean, at the stands, my coach was happy as well. Yeah.
What was the most meaningful comment you got from that period? Do you recall? Something that really struck you, even after these couple of years.
Most meaningful comment. I would say that somebody from another nation, the person that got the gold medal, his friend told me to beat him next time. Yeah, so I thought that was very interesting because you telling other people to be your own teammate. So maybe he doesn't like him, I'm not so sure. So that was another factor that spurred me on because I feel like I could do it and it's within my reach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So even 2 years now, right? It's been 2 years since that SEA Games. No, three years now.
It's the third year.
2.5 years. What are your thoughts of that performance, that medal?
I felt that was a performance where I could learn from. Even though it was a best time, it was a bronze medal, a national record in fact. There are always things to improve on. It wasn't a perfect race, which was absolutely perfect, because if it's not something perfect, it means that you can go faster. So where I mentioned that I fatigue was the last lap, and that was where I needed to work on. Because if I know that if my last lap was as fast as my competitors, I would have won. I would have gotten the record. And training wise, it got harder because I had training my back end speed, which was one of the toughest thing to train. You have to get yourself tired before you can actually do something even harder, like long distance sets and aerobic threshold, things like that, anaerobic stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been introduced to a new level of pain.
Yeah, whole new level of pain that was so painful.
Okay.
And up to now, I'm actually still doing it and trying to cope because I'm not actually aerobically inclined.
Okay, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Well, Max, thanks very much for spending the last hour and a half, or even slightly more, unpacking your journey so far as a student athlete. I think it's been very illuminating, and I think a lot of the juniors, not just in swimming, I think other sports would also appreciate your very frank sharing.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.